Book Summary, Powerless, The Powerless Trilogy, by Lauren Roberts, Part 1. You know those books that grab you by the collar from page 1 and refuse to let go? Powerless by Lauren Roberts is definitely one of those books. It's bold, it's romantic, it's dangerous, and honestly, it gave me that same heart-racing, can't-put-it-down feeling I got the first time I picked up a Sarah J Maas novel. Here's the hook. She is the very thing he spent his whole life hunting, and he is the very thing she spent her whole life pretending to be. If that doesn't already have you leaning closer, trust me. By the time you hear about the kingdom of Ilya, the brutal Purging Trials, and a forbidden romance that had me clutching the book at 2 a.m., you'll get why this story has taken off like wildfire. So, in today's video, I'm diving into Powerless, the New York Times best-selling fantasy that's got everyone talking. Don't worry, I'll keep it spoiler light, but I'll walks you through the world, the characters, and why this book had me hooked from start to finish. All right, let's step into Ilya, Part 2. All right, so let's set the scene. The Kingdom of Ilya. On the surface, it looks powerful, beautiful, orderly. A society ruled by people called the elites. These elites are gifted, or maybe cursed, depending on how you look at it, with extraordinary powers. Powers that weren't just inherited through magic or bloodlines. No, they were given by something called the plague. And I don't know about you, but I love when a fantasy series twists history and legend like that. The idea that something devastating like a plague could end up shaping an entire society, it immediately had me intrigued. But of course, with power comes corruption. The elites see themselves as superior, as chosen. And if you don't have powers, if you're what they call an ordinary, then you're basically nothing. Worse than nothing, actually. The king decreed that being is a crime. Just imagine that for a second. Being born without magic makes you a criminal. You can't control it, you can't change it, and yet your existence is outlawed. That's the brutal world that our main character, Paedyn Gray, has to survive in. Now, Paedyn, oh my gosh, I loved her from the very first chapters. She's clever, she's resourceful, and she has this sharp wit that makes you root for her instantly. She was born ordinary, which means by law she should have been banished or worse. But Paedyn doesn't just curl up and accept her fate. She finds a way to adapt. Her father trained her when she was little to pay attention, to notice people's movements, their little habits, their subtle expressions. Basically, he taught her to be observant enough to fake it. And that becomes her greatest survival skill. So in this world of elites, Paedyn poses as something she's not, a psychic. She reads people's body language so well, she can convince others that she has this rare, mystical power. And honestly, watching her pull it off gave me chills. I was like, okay, girl, you are walking a razor's edge every single day. Because here's the thing. If anyone ever figures out that she's lying, that she's actually just ordinary, it's over. No second chances. And that tension is what makes the book so addictive. Every time Paedyn interacts with someone, you're holding your breath, waiting to see if this is the moment her mask slips. Now let's talk about the prince. Because yes, this story does have romance, and yes, it's forbidden, and yes, it's deliciously slow burn in the best way. So, Paedyn crosses paths with Kai, one of Ilya's princes. And when I tell you their first encounter had me hooked, I mean hooked. She saves his life, without even realizing who he is. Imagine that. She's just trying to survive, trying not to be noticed, and suddenly she ends up saving a royal. And of course, that throws her straight into the spotlight she's been avoiding her entire life. Instead of blending into the crowd, Paedyn is dragged right into the center of the kingdom and right into the deadly Purging Trials. Now these trials, I need to take a breath just to explain them. The Purging Trials are brutal competitions designed to show off the powers of the elites. Think of them as a twisted combination of the Hunger Games and gladiator arenas, but with magic. These trials are deadly by design, a way for elites to prove their strength and dominance. And Paedyn, an ordinary with zero powers, is suddenly forced to compete in them. I don't know about you, but the stakes could not be higher. It's like throwing a lamb into an arena of lions and saying, "Good luck, hope you make it out alive." But here's where Lauren Roberts does something I absolutely loved. Paedyn doesn't just roll over in despair. She uses her brain. She leans on her ability to observe, to outthink, to outmaneuver. And that tension, watching her go up against people with abilities could never physically match but somehow survive, had me on the edge of my seat. Now, let's not forget about the romance. Because, oh my goodness, the chemistry between Paedyn and Kai is just chef's kiss. Remember what I said at the beginning? She is the very thing he spent his whole life hunting. He is the very thing she spent her whole life pretending to be. That's not just a catchy tagline. It's the foundation of their relationship. Kai is trained to believe that ordinaries are dangerous, worthless, something to be eliminated. And Paedyn has spent her whole life hiding the fact that she's exactly that. So when these two are thrown together, it's not just sparks flying. It's a constant question of trust, of survival, of whether the truth will destroy them both. I loved how their relationship unfolds slowly, with layers of banter, tension, and those stolen moments where you can feel the walls between them cracking. It's not insta-love. It's not easy. It's complicated. It's dangerous, and it makes every interaction between them feel loaded. And here's the part I didn't expect. Beyond the romance, beyond the deadly trials, there's this undercurrent of rebellion. You start to see that the system of Ilya is rotten to its core. That maybe Paedyn isn't the only one questioning things. And as a reader, you can't help but start rooting not just for her survival, but for something bigger. For the possibility that the whole kingdom could change. That's what makes Powerless so much more than just a romance or a fantasy adventure. It's about identity, about resilience, about daring to exist in a world that tells you you shouldn't. And I found that theme really powerful. So between the deadly Purging Trials, the forbidden romance, and the ever-present danger of Paedyn being exposed as ordinary, the entire book is just packed with tension. And yet Lauren Roberts balances it with humor, with quiet moments, with little sparks of humanity that make you fall even harder for the characters. Honestly, by the time I finished, I wasn't just invested. I was desperate for book 2, part 3. So by the time I closed the last page of Powerless, I just sat there for a minute like, wow. You know that feeling when you finish a book and you're equal parts satisfied and also aching for the sequel? Yeah, that was me. Because Lauren Roberts doesn't just end this story neatly tied with a bow. No, she leaves you dangling on this perfect edge of what comes next. And luckily, this edition even teases book 2, which honestly had me squealing. What I love most, though, is how Powerless manages to balance everything I crave in a YA fantasy. You've got the high-stakes competition, the rich world building, the forbidden romance, the underdog survival story. But you've also got heart. Paedyn isn't just surviving, she's questioning. She's challenging, she's daring to exist in a world that wants her erased. And that makes her one of my new favorite heroines. And Kai, who, let's just say Ilya's prince is going to keep readers very, very conflicted, in the best possible way. So if you're a fan of Sarah J Maas, or if you love stories that mix romance, rebellion, and that constant how on earth is she going to survive this feeling, then Powerless absolutely deserves a spot on your shelf. I honestly cannot wait to see where this trilogy goes next. If this is just the beginning, we're in for one heck of a ride. All right, I'm going to stop here before I ramble even more. But trust me, Powerless is worth the hype. Have you read it yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I'd love to gush about Paedyn, Kai, and all the twists without spoiling it for the new readers. And if you enjoyed this storytelling breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more bookish content, and stick around because I've got plenty more fantasy recommendations coming your way. Until then, happy reading!